broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Everyone snap together. Team effort. Yeah! Hey, this is AfterBuzz TV. We are here for the finale of Grace and Frankie on Netflix. We are sad that it's coming to an end. Yeah. Tonight is it. We're going to be talking about the last episode. For you, those of you that binge watched, you've already seen it. If you're going along with us, we're on episode 13, The Vows. Very surprised that it wasn't a wedding, but we'll get into that. I'm your host, Lauren Leonelli. You can find me on Lauren Leonelli on Twitter.
And I am Lauren Lograsso. You can find me at LoloLogro on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.com/Lauren Lograsso.
And I'm Jenifer Golden. You can find me everywhere at Jenifer Golden.
On all of the things.
Everywhere, all the things.
Whoa.
I know it's real deep right now.
What happened to your voice?
Couldn't tell you.
Oh, she's got the sexy voice.
She's been doing her phone sex operator for longer hours than normal, and she just can't get out of it.
No.
Girl, go with it.
Go with it, girl.
Mm-hmm.
So we all thought that we were going to be talking about a wedding today.
We did.
Yes.
Because usually vows go with weddings, and it's a whole
And it was
thing.
called The Vow, and we were like, this is totally going to be a wedding. I can't wait to see what Grace is going to wear.
I just like it, though. It was so good.
It was still so good, but there was no wedding.
It was great because it wasn't cliche.
No.
And they left us in like a cliffhanger spot.
Totally.
Right?
I gotta say, though, like every part of this storyline tonight that we're talking about had something to do with vows, because what do vows mean? It's the commitment you're making to somebody else. It's also to have and to hold for till death do you part. And this entire show is about the fact that there's divorce.
And picking somebody and being honest to somebody and stepping up and what your role is. The whole, you know what, Jen? That was very insightful.
Thank you. It actually just occurred to me while we were here.
You're like a Jerry Springer's final thought.
Then I'll just wait to talk till the very end.
No, you can chime in. So the episode opened with Frankie is painting, which was funny.
In her head.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that.
Yeah, Grace was all scared to like come in and interrupt her, and she's like, I'm not sleeping, I'm painting. Her funny little zingers are so Phoebe, aren't they?
They are very Phoebe. You're right. Good call.
Phoebe
the connection of Marta and the two shows.
It's so good. And we find out that, Guy is calling, and clearly, Grace has been avoiding him. Sometimes we do that in our lives, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the little weird quirky friendship that Frankie and Guy have apparently mustered between the two of them.
Totally.
Yeah, because
there's
battleship. They're almost like roommates.
Well, yeah, they're all, and that happens. Like, has anybody ever been in a relationship with like a guy that has roommates, or vice versa, where he becomes friends with your roommates? It's like, that's real. But it's just funny because they're older.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of cool to see that it doesn't fade.
Mm-hmm. No, and I kind of felt bad for Frankie, because it's like, she has nowhere to live. She's been completely displaced. This is her only place to live, and she's now stuck with not only Grace, who didn't originally like her and wasn't nice, but then Grace, who's her friend, and now Guy.
And all of the men she's been trolloping around with.
Yeah.
Trolloping around.
I love it. So we find out that Grace is just really upset, does not want to break up with Guy, because he's like a great guy.
He is.
But she's not in love with him. So when Guy calls, didn't you guys think it was funny when Frankie was like, I'm really good at this, don't worry, and then made this whole long story about how she's doing Neighborhood Watch and she can't talk.
And she's watching the things. It's like, what was she watching? They also live in like a very beautiful place, and I think it's fine.
Right, and picturing Jane Fonda / Grace out in the wilderness with a gun, like on the beach, going around.
Or like a flashlight. Like
Neighborhood watching.
I'm neighborhood watching you.
It was good. It was a funny, cute excuse, but we came to the conclusion that she's got to come up with an answer. She needs to break up with Guy. She can't do this anymore. So when we see Guy, he comes down in the middle of the night, and we know that it's time that she's going to break up with him. And she does, and it goes surprisingly well. right?
Yeah.
You're like, dude, he just really understands her. And he's like, he's upset, but he's like, he's taking it like a champ.
Yeah.
Right?
And she even says, I'll sleep on the couch, and you can have the room. Like, it's too late for you to go home. And they're not young and throwing a hissy fit and, like, storming out. They're behaving like adults.
Who respect each other.
And eating lasagna and things.
Until the next morning.
Which is such a funny turn of events.
I am so not that girl that, like, gets something before it happens. Like, I'm always the last one in the theater or in the room to be like, oh, that's what's happening. Like, in The Sixth Sense, you remember that movie?
Yeah.
And, like, everyone got that the kid was seeing dead people and Bruce Willis was dead. Like, it took me the moment when, like, it was really revealed. Like, I was like, no! But everyone else around me was like, yeah, that was, like, 5 minutes ago. We all realized that. As soon as Guy walked down the stairs and he was happy, I was like, oh, he was sleepwalking or Ambien doing whatever. I guess I'm getting brilliant in my older years.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I just thought he was in a weird denial state.
I so did not.
Okay, so when he came down the stairs, I didn't have any clue that it was, like, late enough for him to have been sleeping, for both women to be awake, and didn't think he'd be on Ambien at that point. It just didn't even occur to me. But when the next morning he couldn't remember anything, I did think it had to do with that.
You were like, this is suspect.
Yeah. Because
I knew it was going somewhere.
I forgot about the ambient component of Guy.
I totally
we had already talked about that ambient eating.
As soon as he pulled the lasagna out, it made me think of that. I didn't think that he was ambient eating at the time, only after he came down the stairs when he was like, everything's great, I'm going to go try on a suit. And you're like, he doesn't get that they broke up. That's when it clicked for me. That's when I had my I see dead people moment. But
oh, I thought you meant, like, when it, okay, I follow now.
Was I confusing?
No, I'm just lost.
But when he was eating the lasagna, it brought me back to the time that he was eating at midnight, and so that's what I think why it was in my mind.
You and Frankie both figured it out.
I figured it out before Frankie figured it out.
Yeah.
What did she say too? That's so funny. She was like, my amateur psychology skills or something.
But didn't she say it weird? She said, like, amateur.
I'm a certified amateur psychologist.
Yeah, she was saying amateur. I don't like when people do that.
No, but I mean, it's very Frankie of her to do it. Also, you can't be certified and amateur.
I know, that's why it was funny.
That's why it's funny.
I know, it's like every description on The Bachelorette. All their professions were like...
Amateur sex therapist.
Yeah, which I still don't know what that means.
That guy was so weird.
That's a guy that just has sex. That's not called a sex therapist.
Yep.
You're an amateur sex doer.
I can't even begin to elaborate on that, but yeah, Frankie, of course, I think she's very spiritual, so she's like, I can do all of these things, I'm helping. And then she finally figured out that he was Ambien eating and walking and talking, and so, which is a real thing, by the way. I have a very good friend who does that. Like, for real.
Oh, at least they don't kill people.
No, she doesn't. She orders things. She orders things on. Oh, like remember a guy ordered shoes?
Yeah.
She orders things from the Victoria's Secret catalog.
No.
So how does she prevent herself from that?
She has to return them the next day.
No, that's amazing.
No, it's real.
Does she sleep alone and no one can stop her?
Like, yeah, sometimes she's just by herself. And then she's like, why the F am I getting all these things in the mail? Or, like, she'll kind of remember and then she'll put it together.
That's so crazy.
That is horrifying.
She calls me and speaks gibberish. Like, literally one time she was like, there's squirrels on my ceiling. I was like, go to bed.
Oh, I need to know who it is.
It's Lauren.
I had a feeling.
It's me, guys.
Not this Lauren. It's my friend Lauren, if you're watching. Hi.
No, it's like I knew that it was going to be her, too.
Yeah. Good old Chow. That's her nickname.
Chow.
That's cute.
So that is a real thing, and obviously Guy has the issue, so we see that he doesn't understand, and what Frankie, that they broke up, he has no idea. He doesn't remember. So
it was so awkward, and he was so happy.
So happy.
And that kiss was so awkward. She's like, what's going on?
She was so, and then she's like, who does this happen to?
I love that response.
Yeah, so cute.
It was it's one of those moments where you're like, am I in an episode of Seinfeld right now? What is happening to my life?
Right.
Wackiness was ensuing. So this is the part where I started to go like, what? So Frankie always comes up with some wackadoodle answer, and she's like, you just need to vlog about it. And I'm like, what? Where are they going with this? Like, what? But then when Grace vlogged, I think that was like my favorite scene of the entire season.
It was very powerful.
Very.
That, and also the part where Robert reads his vows at the end of this episode made me cry. But this was so good that she sat in front of that camera and she like totally figured out. She had an aha moment about this guy Phil that she used to love in the past, and that made her realize that that's how she wants to feel, and that's not how she feels with Guy, and that she wants that. And she got really emotional.
I got chills.
It was so good. The best part, though, I think, as like the choice she made as an actress to like let herself get vulnerable, because Grace doesn't do that, and then see her reflection in the camera and realize that she was vulnerable, and she kind of straightened herself up, and then she went, I look pretty when I cry.
And she does.
And she does. Always looks beautiful. And it was amazing.
Have you guys tell the truth? Emmys for sure. That was
it's
beautiful.
so well acted here. Here.
Have you guys ever been in that situation though? Like after you've been emotional, you've looked in the mirror,
absolutely,
and then you've been like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, this is how the movie of my life would look.
Yes.
I think that's the moment she was having.
This is the moment where I cry, but I look good at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it because it's something I've totally felt before, and I figured a lot of people would have had the same thing.
We don't ugly cry like Claire Danes over here. We look pretty like Jane Fonda.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, you don't even blink. It's just a tear rolls down your face ever so
And
nicely.
it like highlights your mascara almost and like whitens your eyes.
Did you love how she changed the background?
Oh my God, yes. She's like, this is so much better. She popped her collar. I think Jane Fonda is fabulous.
She is so fabulous.
Absolutely.
I really just hope that I'm like her when I'm older.
We can strive for that.
Absolutely. I think we can attain the Fonda.
I'm reaching for the stars.
Should.
And in an aerobics manner, like her.
I mean, she's still in such great shape.
She's
oh
so
my
good.
gosh, in those jeans in the last scene.
Jealous.
So jealous.
Jane Fonda.
It made me want to do some serious ab workout.
Stop being so awesome, Jane Fonda. And then we also had some other things happening in the background. Well, they were just as important, but it was the vows that the boys were trying to write.
Yes.
You know, and of course Saul's vows were very heartfelt and emotional, and he doesn't have a problem spilling these things because this is just like on the surface of his skin. But then we get to poor Robert.
Yeah, he writes more of a legal document that says things like therein and
Here too, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Are you planning to sue him for his love?" Or with the
love
girls,
that
so the
line.
daughters were there helping. And I feel like usually I like Brooklyn Decker's characters, Mal's like neuroses, but for some reason I was like about her. But I always love Brianna.
I love her. She's very spot on, witty, good timing, like just very funny.
Impeccable timing.
Love her comedy. Love it.
I love the way she asked him too. How are your vows going, Dad?
Oh, yeah.
Because Sal had just texted her asking
Yeah.
if he was doing his vows.
Her character's so good. I kind of feel like the Mallory character's a little like lackluster.
Yeah, I think that character could be developed a little bit more, and maybe it will be in the next season.
I know. We
Yeah.
really were into her when the whole thing with Coyote was
Yeah.
going on, and then she sort of just.
Well, we didn't see her as much either.
Yeah.
I think we've really gotten an in-depth look at Brianna.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
that's
we
true.
know Brianna's character.
We know Brianna's character, and she's also just amazing. But, you guys, before we continue, this show is on for free. You guys watch this for free. And so in order to do that, we've got some sponsors, and we'd like to, share a little bit of information about this sponsor for you so we can stay here and keep the lights on for you guys. So Mazda has a very important question for you guys. Does driving matter to you? Well, there's over 4 million miles of road in the U.S. to find out. That is a lot of ground to cover. A lot of highways, freeways, wrong ways, and long ways. They're all out there waiting to be driven on. So do you take that left turn at Albuquerque, or do you just keep going? Do you wake up early Sunday morning for a drive before the traffic does? I know I do. Or do you take the long, winding road home for a change? If driving matters to you, just get out and drive. Why? Because driving matters. Mazda. I agree. And the commercial that they play is so super cute. You guys watch it. Mm-hmm. We talk
It is
about
real
this
cute.
every episode, but I love the boy in the commercial and how you follow him through his life, and it just feels very nostalgic.
Yeah. It's very emotional. It makes you feel things, and that's why you remember it.
That's why you remember it. And speaking of feeling things, the vows that we end up hearing. Did we hear Saul's vows? I can't remember.
Yes. No, we don't.
We see the reaction, and
Right.
that's how we feel. We
And you know that's enough because you know Saul is like gonna emote and cry and be like, so it's gonna be so beautiful.
Yes.
And so the girl's reaction is just enough. And then we realize that poor Robert is just like you said. He's got this legal document. So Bree takes his 8-page thing that he ends
His
up writing.
manifesto.
Yeah. And she takes it and she edits it down to like all of the beautiful parts that he made. So now we've got these vows, but we're waiting to hear them, and we're wondering how we're going to hear them because there's no wedding happening.
Right.
But
in the meantime, we've got we find out that Frankie needs to move out of the house.
Yes. That whole family needs to move out.
They're moving out.
They're selling it.
And so they're all there. The boys are there.
But don't you kind of wonder why Frankie didn't just keep it? Like, why did she also have to move in with Grace?
I think she wanted to.
Yeah, did she not want to be in the house anymore? Maybe she said
because
she couldn't.
At first she wanted to be in the house. She said, I love my house. I want to be in it.
Right.
So I think from that time to now, they've come to a conclusion that we didn't see. It wasn't on screen that she wanted to move in with Grace.
Right.
Yeah, the house clearly, gave her too many memories, and we see that while they're all together in the house finishing packing. And, and it's, Bud, Coyote, Saul.
It makes sense, too, that she would have a hard time with it because she's seeming to have a hard time with
their wedding.
Their wedding and the breakup and making boundaries. And we find out at the end of the episode that it's been 6 months. It didn't feel like that time had passed to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Same here.
It felt like I would have thought it was shorter. I mean, there was never anything that really, took you on a specific timeline to tell. I just, in my mind, I felt like it was shorter than 6 months.
We didn't see seasons. We didn't see holidays. We had no context, but it's interesting now that we do know.
I mean, we had a baby being pulled out of sweatpants. Oh, but that was a flashback.
That was a flashback.
Yeah, so...
It felt like 2 months to me, maybe.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it felt very quick. It all happened so fast.
It all happened so fast. But... We know that Frankie's very sensitive about it. So for her to stay in the house, for whatever reason she didn't, it makes sense that would be hard for her.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They go to the house and they're like, okay, we're all packed up and everyone's okay. They're all nice around each other. There's so much love in the room. And then they do, Jen couldn't remember, they do the lighting of the candles. Which, what's it called?
Shabbos?
No. Shabbat candles, but I mean, I
wrote it down, but I thought that it was called Shabbos.
Maybe it was, and
maybe they did the Shabbos candles.
That's what they called it.
Okay, that's what it was then. Well, that, and Saul starts to do the prayer, and then he cries.
Which is weird, by the way, because when you light the Shabbat candles, you don't blow them out. You leave them lit. But if you're going to leave the house after you're done packing, you wouldn't leave lit candles. So
yeah, it would burn.
That's kind of a weird thing that they did factually.
And they put it on top of the boxes too, it's kindling right underneath.
Right. Marta is a very she's a practicing Jew and she's very religious. So I mean, they knew that. She probably just was like, meh, who cares?
Right.
No one's going to pay attention.
It was more the symbolism.
Well, because what happened after that was going to make everyone forget about the lit candles on the box. I had a feeling they were going to kiss. At first, Frankie goes to check on Saul. He's very upset. He's like, I love you guys so much. This is so hard for me. And then, she kisses him on the cheek, I think.
She kisses him on the forehead.
Yeah.
And then she kind of goes away.
You could see the whole thing happening.
And then they look at each other. And he kisses her.
Well, he kisses her one time, just like a peck, and I thought that was nice. They love each other, and then they locked eyes, and it was like, oh, I think I outlined
Make out sesh 2015.
Wow,
intersexual intercourse.
And didn't you think it was so cute that Saul, he kind of raised his eyebrows when he went out of the shot? It was kind of cute.
Oh,
I watched that moment, and I was like, oh, that's cute, Sam. So then we see them after. We know they're going to have sex, but now it's confirmed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They've done the sex. What do you think that was like? Do you think he wanted to do it from behind?
Ooh.
I don't know. I'm just impressed, truthfully, that at his age, he can get it up without any kind of happenings.
And he's homosexual, and he still got it up.
So more power to the character of Saul.
I think he got it up because he missed that situation, the love that
it was a heightened emotional situation.
It was not her parts, it was her soul that he was really...
And he's like that.
Yeah, he is like that. And it's more of a feminine quality, and I feel like he's more the feminine, if you had to pick the feminine quality of the two, the feminine guy of the two.
Yeah,
absolutely. So they make sex, and then you can see Frankie's just kind of like, oh man. So Saul comes to talk to her because of course he would, and Grace finds out about it. How does she just looks at him and goes like, did you, what happened? She figures it out, right?
He was all furled and ruffled and crazy, and so I think she was asking questions, and he's like, well, I just want to see her, and she was like, well, weren't you just with her? And he's like, yeah,
I was. Oh, and didn't you guys do something? He goes, no, the opposite. We did the opposite of that.
Did you guys have a fight?
Yeah.
No, we had the opposite of a fight. You had sex with her.
And because she's been having so much sex, she could probably see it from a mile away.
Yeah. She could smell it.
That guilty look, too.
Mm-hmm. She knew. Mm-mm. And then I thought it was so cute how she went out to go see Frankie on the beach, and she had that beautiful sandcastle, and I was like, really?
How long did that take
hire someone to make that? Like, that's great.
Like, how long had she been sitting out there, really?
I mean, she is an artist, but still.
True.
That I know, because
maybe it's been a work in progress. Maybe she started on the moat a while ago. We don't know.
I mean, there were like peaked roofs and eaves and like shingles and stuff. It was like real detailed.
There were probably at least 7 of those little castle type things.
Right. Yeah, it was good. So Grace starts to talk to her. I'm trying to remember the funny quote that Grace said.
It was when, I guess, she said that she slept with Saul to find out what the hoopla was all about.
Yeah, that was it. I was like, well, Saul came over and I slept with him to find out what all the hoopla was. And that was kind of her way of saying,
I know what you did.
I know what you did last night or earlier, whenever that was.
Yeah. I do and just to go a second back, when Grace said to Saul, are you going to be a schmuck or a mensch?
Oh, yeah. I thought that this episode maybe should have been named that instead.
Of the Vows?
Schmuck.
Because it kept coming up.
But that would have given it away too much, whereas the Vows really summarizes everything that went down.
True.
The cheating, the commitment, all of it.
Good symbolism. You're right.
It's basically saying your morals. And that's why, schmuck or mensch are 2 moral directions. So you're either going to be the guy that lies and hides this entire thing that you just did, or you're going to tell the truth and start your new marriage.
We don't know what it is, because the episode ends with Grace and Frankie walking on the beach together. They just talked, and Frankie finally realizes, you know what, when we were together, it took me so long to get over him. It's been 6 months. You've moved on, and it's taken me forever, and I feel really foolish, but this is what it took for me. I slept with him, and it just felt like we didn't fit together anymore, and that was so sad.
It was.
But it was also, I think, probably the closure she might have needed.
It was.
And she deserved it. It's just too bad it had to come through that venue.
Right. So, and then we see Saul walking up to the house. Robert reads the vows, which made me cry.
Oh, yeah.
They were so beautiful. And, oh, my gosh. Martin Sheen is just...
So good.
All these actors are just so, on point all the time, and so still and beautiful and honest, and it was so good. And we see Saul about to enter the home, and it ends with a Homeland cliffhanger.
So, and we see the girls go off into the distance, cute and together as friends and supportive.
And now we have no idea what's happening.
No, should we do any kind of prediction for next season?
I want to say one thing too about the vows. So I thought it was cool that while these vows were being said in the voiceover, it was a picture of Grace and Frankie walking off into the distance.
Yeah.
So I thought at this point in the show, their bond is the strongest one.
And these vows are almost like something that they're promising and saying to each other too. All of those things could have been for them, to a friendship vow, a friendship contract.
Yeah,
cute.
It is.
So cute.
That's a good point, Lauren. And I think that, and now it's a funny show, but there's heart in it. But it really ended kind of a little there was a cliffhanger, and a little bit it was somber. Because you just don't know what's going to happen, and we'll get to our predictions later. But
I'm so glad that they ended it like that, though. Because
me too.
It could have, if they got married, then what happens next season?
Then what? I like that we're kind of working towards it, and we'll probably see it in the beginning of next season, because we know there's a season 2. But it was a different way to end it, and I like that they did it that way, and it felt right. It felt good.
Yeah,
I wasn't unsatisfied at all with that no wedding. I love weddings, watching them and all of that, but we'll see it eventually.
I hope so.
I'm
so worried about them right now, actually.
I know. Are you losing sleep?
I haven't lost sleep yet, because I watched it today, but
tonight might be tough,
guys. I feel very nervous right now.
Well, I'll tell you this, I watched it Sunday, and I haven't lost sleep.
So
okay,
we'll
that's a good sign.
I think you guys will be fine, just based on symptoms and things.
Okay.
Just, take some melatonin and maybe have some whiskey on some ice cream.
Take some
Frankie.
Ambien
Take some Ambien and eat some lasagna and get broken up with and don't remember.
Perfect.
See?
Perfect.
We just solved all your problems.
Evening.
You're welcome. All right, let's move into some news and gossip. How about that, since we have a little, right?
Just a little bit of news and gossip, yes.
Yeah.
So this is kind of funny news and gossip. So we all know Jane Fonda is fabulous. Hashtag Fonda on fire. We love her. We aspire to be like her. So she had a thing on Yahoo Beauty, and she's just talking about how much the girl loves Spanx. She says that she never leaves the house without 6 or 7 pairs. She thinks they're a fabulous invention, and she can't get enough of them. So
I want to know where she's going and why she needs so many. Like, does she wear them on top of each other? Does she like do wardrobe changes?
Well,
like
she probably does, like bra, bottoms,
so like full body
all
Spanx.
of the things.
yeah, and like middle.
But she might
section.
double up on some parts. I don't think she needs to, though. She's so skinny. But I thank you for the tip. Might double up on the ass area of my body with the Spanx. Thank you, Jane Fonda.
Never
Jane
hurts.
Fonda.
We
She's
love
going
that.
for 6 or 7. We can go for it too.
I mean, I will. I'm going to do that. Cheers to that, Jane Fonda. Okay, well, that's great. I love that. Nice ending news and gossip for the season. Jane Fonda wears Spanx and multiples. All right, well, let's do some predictions because I feel like we have a season 2.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right. I'm going to predict what happens with Saul and Robert. And I know it sounds like, oh, they're going to be together. I think they're going to be together. And I think what's going to happen is I think that Robert is going to understand that their relationship is not just them. It's not like just about what Saul and Robert want. And this is why it took them forever to come out and tell everybody, because there's so many people involved. And as they're going through this, they're realizing how many people are affected and involved. And if Saul can find a way to tell, express to Robert, like, this was a moment that I needed to give Frankie. Like, she needed to have it. This is, and maybe he knew all along that's what he was doing, or maybe he felt it in the moment too, or maybe after, but the closure that she was given from this is like the last thing he could do. He owed it to her after everything. And I feel like Robert's got to understand that and move on. And so I think that he will.
I think Saul wanted it too, though.
Like the closure?
I think he wanted it just as much as her. And I think that he could also be understanding of that in time through counseling. I think we'll see some counseling. Yeah, but I think that's a good one.
Okay.
I agree that I think there might be some counseling and maybe even like a couple episodes of drama. I don't think the wedding's going to be right away. I also, because Robert was always very frustrated by Frankie and Saul's relationship and why they were still so close and why, even their wedding had to be all about Frankie. So I do think that there's going to be a lot of turmoil, and it has to be now because it was so much easier for them in this season, like, to get together and to they were the cause of all the drama in Grace and Frankie's lives, where we saw those unravel. Now I feel like we might start seeing their lives unravel a little bit.
Yeah.
I do still think at some point there will be a wedding, but
Yeah, for sure.
because then what would happen if they didn't get together? Then where does this go? Everyone just starts dating random people and no one's intertwined. Wouldn't make sense.
No, it wouldn't make sense.
But I do think that we might start see more whole family interactions, like holidays and things, and how awkward it might be now this like extended family is together.
Right. And
Under different circumstances.
I think they could hold off on the wedding a little just to make it more of a draw, but it will happen eventually. So we're all predicting that's going to happen.
They'll dangle that
And
carrot.
they're going to stay together, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's in
I
agreement
think
to that.
so.
I also think that Mallory and Mitch might split.
I really want her and Coyote to have a torrid love affair at some point.
Me too.
It'd be nice for them.
I think it would be, and I want to see it.
I think that convict is going to come back in some way. Maybe not to be with Grace, because there's something that's going to happen with that Phil guy. But that
yeah, we're gonna
convict
see
is so
Phil.
Yeah,
spicy.
we need to know who Phil is.
We would like to see Phil if you're watching
Show
Grace
up.
and Frankie.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying if Phil is watching, we'd
Phil,
like to see him. He's a
come
real
back.
person.
Phil, if you're there, come back.
Pick up the phone.
All right, guys. Well, this was a great season.
It
I really
was.
enjoyed chatting with you about Grace and Frankie. And for those of you who watched at home, thank you for watching. And we have a season 3, so stay tuned for that. We will be here, or season 2. Stay tuned for that. We will be here hosting away for you, talking about Grace and Frankie and our favorite characters, Fonda on Fire. Right?
Hashtag Fonda on fire.
I am Lauren Leonelli. You can find me at Lauren Leonelli on Twitter, Facebook, Vine, Instagram, and my website.
And I am Lauren Lograsso. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been fun interacting with you guys, and we'll see you next season. And you can find me at Lola Logro on Twitter and Instagram, and Facebook.com/Lauren Lograsso.
And I'm Jenifer Golden. You can find me everywhere at Jenifer Golden.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.